Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. Forecasters continue tracking subtropical storm Nicole tonight as all of the relevant agencies go on high alert as officials send a strong message to residents to prepare. We are now awaiting a second press conference for the day from the National Emergency Management Agency scheduled for 8 o'clock tonight. But joining us now from the Weather Center with the latest on the storm's track is meteorologist Greg Thompson. Hello, Greg.
Yeah, hi, Natalia. Good evening, everybody. First, we'll talk what's happening outside our studio. 79 degrees, mostly cloudy skies, and it is breezy with those tightening wind gradients across our area. Your winds out of the north-northeast at 18 miles per hour, and they are gusting high, and your feel-like temperature hanging out in the low 80s. Of course, the story of the night, Nicole, a subtropical storm off the satellite imagery right now, but the center of circulation is actually just up in the top right corner. Fast-moving showers associated with a very strong northeasterly breeze, bringing some quick moving showers across the area. So we'll continue to see that throughout the remainder of the night and into tomorrow. But this system is going to continue to move towards the west. Hurricane warnings in place now for Grand Bahama, Abaco, as well as the Berries and the Bimini area. Tropical storm warnings in effect for New Providence, as well as Andros and Eleuthera. And we will continue to see conditions deteriorate through tomorrow, and especially late tomorrow into Wednesday. More showers and thunderstorms will be moving into our area. So make sure you take the necessary precaution to get ready for the system as it approaches us. Natalia?
All right, Greg, thanks for that update. We'll come back to you a little later on with more on this storm's developments and our extended weather forecast. Now, severe flooding and storm surges are some of the conditions residents will experience when Nicole begins impacting the Bahamas. The National Emergency Management Agency wasting no time, insisting residents take the storm seriously. NEMA Director Captain Stephen Russell says due to king tide and high tide, the projected storm surge levels in West End, Grand Bahama could rise as high as 7 feet.
For years, you've been hearing of storm surge impacting the western Grand Bahama. Surge is generated because of the low shelf from the ocean to low water, and eventually that's what washes across the western area. We expect a king tide, and then eventually a high tide, and the surge being generated from that storm, you can have quite a bit of water, probably up to 7 feet of water coming across the western Grand Bahama areas.
And here's the advice Russell gives to those living in areas vulnerable to flooding.
We want persons in those areas to be mindful that that is a vulnerable area, and once the order to evacuate has been issued, we need persons moving in a timely manner. The fishing hole road that has been repaired, but we need persons who may have to traverse that area to make plans to move in a timely manner if they're coming from West Grand Bahama into the city of Freeport. Those are vulnerable areas along the path that we need persons to be mindful of as the system is approaching.
Now over in Grand Bahama, key government agencies meeting at the Grand Lacaille Resort this morning to discuss their plans to brace for the impending storm.
Northwest Bahamas from 10 o'clock this morning, unfortunately, is now under a hurricane watch.
Chief Meteorologist Siobhan Moxie Bonamy confirming that news during NEMA's press conference. She says while Nicole is somewhat disorganized, it's expected to become a low-end Category 1 hurricane while hovering over the city of Freeport on Wednesday.
It has been slowing down to the east of Abaco, and that is telling us that it's going to start making that westward track.
She says the storm is mimicking Hurricane Jean that hit Grand Bahama back in 2004. She's urging people living in low-lying areas like West End to evacuate.
The wind coming ashore is going to be for such a long duration. It's more or less going to pile up water along that North Coast Road in West End.
As for shelters, the Department of Social Services says some 17 shelters in the east, central, and western end of the island will open on Tuesday at noon.
So we ask you to make sure you have food, your food items, and your medication. And those of you with children, we ask you please to control your children.
Now, the Ministry of Works and Utilities says all government assets will be secured.
We have 20 government buildings, which include 12 schools and 8 government business buildings.
Minister for Grand Bahama Ginger Moxie also a part of that meeting this morning.
We know that we must take every storm seriously, make necessary precautions.
While the Nassau Airport Development Company also keeping a keen eye on subtropical storm Nicole. NAD says LPI is operating as normal for now and anticipates that the airport opens tomorrow. Although airline schedules may vary, travelers are asked to contact their airlines for flight updates. NAD officials say if the storm remains on its track, the airport will experience tropical storm force winds around 2 a.m. on Wednesday. During that time, aircraft operations will be suspended for several hours as tropical storm conditions are projected throughout the day. We also spoke to Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association President Robert Sands, who talked about hotel properties throughout the country.
And those plans remain in place until the end of the hurricane season. And each individual property at the appropriate time, once we receive the correct notices and advisories, will in fact initiate such plans and execute accordingly. Warning guests, making proprietary arrangements, ensuring removal of certain items that may be able to operate as trajectiles, etc., closing certain outdoor arrangements, just being prepared.
Meanwhile, Bahamas Air says there will be possible schedule adjustments starting Wednesday. The airline expects to cancel flights between Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Eleuthera. Travelers with reservations on Wednesday and Thursday are asked to contact Bahamas Air's reservation department if changes to flight itineraries become necessary, and penalties will be waived. Also tonight, education officials have announced that schools in Abaco, Grand Bahama, and the Berry Islands will close tomorrow until the all clear is given. The announcement coming from the ministry in light of the approaching storm. Those islands are expected to experience strong winds and heavy rainfall. The public has been advised to check the ministry's social media platforms and official media for updates. Still to come on our news, 3 men on bail denied bail this time around, accused of the recent murder of a man in Coconut Grove. Court details are straight ahead. And what the National Security Minister wants to see after individuals out on bail violate those terms. And education officials providing clarity on the life of school bus contracts. The latest when our news returns. A short time ago, Acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper leading a news conference at the NEMA headquarters. All schools and government offices will close at noon tomorrow on the affected islands. The Deputy Prime Minister again urging everyone to take the storm seriously.
Schools and government offices in Nassau, Eleuthera, and Andros will close effective 12 noon tomorrow until the all clear is given. Airports and seaports on all affected islands are expected to close when the wind reaches 40 knots or higher.
While social services offices in New Providence temporarily closed for several hours today as staff met with the social services minister. As our Jamila Mizik tells us, the closure not sitting well with some residents.
Signs of an office closure posted on several doors at social service offices across New Providence today, and residents say this was the only indication that the office would be closed, leaving many of them inconvenienced. One woman says she was told to come to the office today for assistance, but to her surprise, the office was closed.
They didn't me to come today on the 7th, but then she told me that it was ready from last week, but she told me come today for it, and now that I come, I have to still wait till they open up. Security said they went into a meeting, so I only could wait. I already here. And I don't have no more bus money to go back home and come back because somebody gave me $2 to come here. Yeah, it's very rough. It's hard.
When our news team got to the Robinson Road location, I met another woman waiting with her son, who also told me she could not afford to leave.
I don't have no money. If I leave from here to get to where I have to go, I don't have no money to come back here. So I just don't have no choice but to sit here and wait.
The office closures were as a result of a meeting with social workers and the minister responsible, Obi Wilchcombe, after workers vocally expressed grievances last week, which include lack of pay, promotions, and other issues. The women say it was frustrating to know that the entire office was closed without warning.
They could have left someone here to assist the people as they come in. But a lot of people came and they left.
And even if they had some persons to go and some to stay to assist people, because this is inhumane. This is bad. This is terrible. This is poor service.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Missick.
Thanks, Jamila. 3 men on bail are back behind bars in connection with a recent murder. Prosecutors charging Calpan Road residents Ahmad Clark, Ashton Wilson, and Omar Atkinson with the October 29 shooting death of Fred LaFay at 6th Street, Coconut Grove. Police said LaFay, who was on bail for the 2021 murder of Kendino McDonald, gunned down by the occupants of a silver car. Like their alleged victim, the accused killers were also on bail when they allegedly reoffended. Clark is on bail for 2 murders, and Wilson and Atkinson are on bail for attempted murder. They were not required to enter pleas to the murder charge when they stood before Magistrate Algernon Allen Jr. and were denied bail. The accused killers returned to court in February. A 47-year-old accused of fatally shooting a woman outside her home has been denied bail. Prosecutors say Lyndon Vincent is responsible for the October 31st murder of 42-year-old Patrice Sawyer. According to police, a Commonwealth Bank employee was shot multiple times after someone called her outside. Vincent, a resident of Fig Tree Crescent, did not have to enter a plea to the murder charge when he appeared before Senior Magistrate Darren Roll Davis. He was refused bail and next returns to court on February 8, 2023. National Security Minister Wayne Munroe says stiffer penalties are coming for offenders who breach the terms of bail, particularly those being electronically monitored. Munroe says those people should not be out on bail after they violate their bail conditions.
There's a fine now for breaching your bail condition, but committing an offense while on bail is a reason to revoke bail. So if I give you bail on the condition that you wear this monitor so the police can have track of you and you don't comply, and we don't know where you are 24 hours a day, we have a place where we know where you are 24 hours a day. And if you can't comply with the rules for us to know it when you are outside, then we can house you where we know where you are 24 hours a day.
While the Davis administration signing a memorandum of understanding for the construction of new sustainable housing in the Bahamas, the company is also pumping $50 million into the local economy to establish a manufacturing plant. Partana, the newly formed company, will design, develop, finance, and construct 30 homes in the Bahamas to create hurricane-resilient homes. The announcement came while Prime Minister Davis and a delegation prepared for the start of COP27 in Egypt. The initiative will provide at least 100 jobs and makes way for Bahamians to become homeowners. Principal owner Rick Fox says the initiative is one way to fight against what seems to be worsening weather patterns. Fox says the company has developed technology that has the potential to change building methods.
We need to build better. We need to delink development from pollution. Partana provides the opportunity for us to do that, for us to build in a more nature-positive way. Partana has, for you guys, greater understanding here. We use recycled materials, which allow us to be carbon negative over its life cycle. Our technology is affordable, scalable, and completely sustainable.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, some school bus contracts set to end in December. We'll tell you what it means for other contracts set to expire in 2023.
Plus, coming up in sports for tonight, the high school championships get underway in softball. We'll tell you how they all shaped up. Coming up in sports, along with what's going on as far as the Don't Blink. One of our co-founders says what's up for him in his career. Once again, that's coming up in sports.
Plus, making a plan to stay safe as we continue to track Nicole. Greg Thompson is back in the Weather Center when our news returns. The Ministry of Education addressing the opposition's claims that some school bus contracts for public schools in the Family Islands were terminated early. The response from the ministry came after Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard released a press statement on Sunday condemning the termination of the current contracts. According to Pintard, the contracts were for a fixed term of 3 years with 1 full year remaining, but education officials claim in a statement that several of the current contracts will end in December 2022. It added that all other contracts will be terminated from January 3rd, pursuant to the termination clause in those contracts. In that statement, education officials also claimed that the prior exercise led by the former F&M administration was controversial, with allegations, some from bus owners who claim they had won bids for bus contracts but were sidelined. With those contracts set to be terminated, the Ministry of Education says it will invite contractors interested in providing transporting for students to express interest very soon. With the regular season now complete, the private schools set to begin their softball championships today. Meanwhile, one of our top professional baseball players talks future plans. Here's Marcellus Hall with a check on sports.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Well, after a long season, it's time to get on the field and decide who's going to be the overall champion. We're talking about high school softball. As the private schools put their money on the line, we'll see who comes out on top in all 4 series. Junior girls, junior boys, senior girls, and senior boys all set to start today at Freedom Farm. Let's take a closer look.
BISS Championships set to begin today in softball. The games will take place over at the Freedom Farm softball fields. Taking a look at your matchups for today, junior girls will be QC against St. Augustine's College. That'll be game 1 of their best of 3. On the junior boys side, QC again taking on Temple Christian. Moving on to the senior girls, it's Nassau Christian Schools versus QC. And on the senior boys side, Nassau Christian Schools taking on St. Augustine's College. Again, all 4 series getting underway today. And all 4 will be a best of 3 situation. Meanwhile, speaking of baseball, the situation begins to develop now as the Don't Blink Home Run Derby gets ready for another installment. Year number 5 coming your way on December 17th. Once again, return to Monarchy Bay Foreshore, co-founder of the event, Lucius Fox, who played some time with the Washington Nationals this year, talking about his plans for his career moving forward.
I was watching the games on TV, but actually being in the games and seeing the competition firsthand, it made me hungrier, and I know exactly what I need to do when I get the opportunity again. So hopefully God bless me with the opportunity to break with the team and to play my opening day with the major leagues. And I'm super excited to get up there, but my confidence has never been higher, and I know that I'm capable, more than capable, to compete at that level.
And that's indeed your look at sports here on this Monday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Italia.
Plus, depending on where you live, you may begin feeling the impact of Nicole by Tuesday night. Greg Thompson has the latest when our news returns. Welcome back to our news. We are still tracking Nicole from here in the Ournews studios. Greg Thompson, who's been following the storm progress, is back in the Weather Center with the latest outlook. Hello again, Greg.
Yeah, hello, Talia.
Greg, what are we seeing now? We know Nicole formed really quickly, and it's also moving quickly, it seems.
Well, actually, it's not moving quickly. It's slowed down a bit, and this is what we do not like with systems like this. That gives it time to strengthen, and the warm waters around this area is providing the fuel for the system. But it will continue to track towards the west at around 9 miles per hour, and it is anticipated to even further slow down because by Wednesday evening, it should have been just to the south of Grand Bahama, but you notice Thursday is when we expect it to move just to the south of Grand Bahama. As I mentioned, the system continues to track towards the slightly towards the northwest, but will make that turn towards the west over the next couple of hours, and as it continues to strengthen as it moves towards the eastern Bahamas, Grand Bahama, Abaco, Berry Islands, and Bimini now under a hurricane warning. New Providence, Andros, and Eleuthera are tropical storm warnings. That means tropical storm and hurricane conditions could affect these areas within the next 36 hours. As the system continues to track towards the west, it's anticipated that this system will possibly gain hurricane strength as it enters the eastern coast of Florida, but it's anticipated to weaken rather rapidly as it does that, and it's going to race off towards the north and should be out of our area by the weekend. But as it continues to move towards us and approaches by then, we expect showers and thunderstorms, tropical storm conditions, as well as hurricane conditions to be affecting most of the northwest islands, and some of the trailing moistures could possibly even affect the central Bahamas as the system moves over Florida by the end of the week. Talking about the tropics, there is another system out there that the National Hurricane Center is watching. It's not really going to do anything for us, but this is a broad system that's associated with Nicole right now, and the National Hurricane Center watching another area up near Bermuda with a medium chance for formation. This one will continue to track towards the north and west and should move into some cooler waters and some hostile conditions, so this system should be short-lived. If you're doing any boating, that's not advised. Tropical storm warnings are in effect for the northwest Bahamas. Northerly winds at 20 to 30 knots through tonight and into tomorrow, but by tomorrow evening, those winds will be increasing even further. Seas will start off 5 to 7 feet. They will be building up to 14 feet, so very rough conditions out on the waters. Your high tide was at 6:56 this evening, for the central and southeast Bahamas, and advisory posts if you're down there. West and northwest winds at 15 to 20 knots. Those winds will be gusting much higher across the central Bahamas, and your seas will be running 5 to 7 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your 7-day forecast, tropical storm and hurricane conditions expected across most of the Bahamas throughout the remainder of the week, but by Thursday into Friday, we expect conditions to start to improve, and then by the weekend, we expect much improved conditions at that time. That's a look at our weather. Back to you, Talia.
All right, thank you so much, Greg. That was our meteorologist, Greg Thompson, in the Weather Center for us tonight, following subtropical storm Nicole, and we will continue to follow its developments over the next few days, so be sure and stay tuned to our news at 7 and 7:30 and online at ournews.bs. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.